This episode of Philly Fame TV is sponsored by Top Dog Law. Now y'all already know who to call for any accidents or injury cases. If you want that top dollar, you better get at Top Dog. You can hit him up on Instagram at Top Dog Law or visit his website www.topdoglaw.com. Philly Fame. Alright, welcome back to Philly Fame TV once again. Appreciate everybody who tuning in. Appreciate everybody who been tuning in. Appreciate all the support. This your first time tapping in, your first episode. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, share, click the notification bell, all that good stuff. And a disclaimer in the beginning of all these joints, I gotta say, this is not Vito official story from beginning to now. This is, from my perspective, my interactions with him and all of that. I didn't really get to meet him officially when he was home and all of that, but I did do an interview with him, back in 2017, which we'll touch a little bit on. And also, he called in when I was doing an interview with his youngin' Caliba. That was also later on in 2017. So I'll get into that too, So without further ado, let's get right into it. So yeah, prior to him, being Vito Corleone, he was known as Lil Danny, from Blumberg, aka The Water. He was repping the Water Boys and all that. That's what Blumberg was calling themselves back at that time, And Blumberg was a notorious projects. If you watch my Caliba episode, then basically explained it on there. If you from that era when Blumberg Projects was around, because it's not there no more, but it was definitely one of them type projects in the city, that definitely was notorious. And some of the people that come from there from that era, that some of y'all might know, Nah Niddles used to rap back in the day. He was on Headshots DVDs and stuff like that. Turk, B.Y. Jennings, the boxer, and Caliba. Later on, young Caliba, who was rapping, got killed, like I just mentioned. He did an episode on him. So, in the new era of the Blum, they still rapping. You got YB the Slump Boy, and that's Shido, just to name a few. But salute the Blumberg Projects and all that. Definitely was legendary and had a nice little run back then. So I ain't really know Vito like that. I didn't really meet him when he was outside and all that. I did see him one time. He walking through the hood and shit. Him and some other boy. I just seen him walk past. And obviously I knew who he was. He was on the DVDs and shit like that. But I ain't never really know him. I never really meet him when he was outside. But I did do an interview with him, back in 2017, May 2017. I actually connected with him through Just. Just used to be with the Go Gettas and all that. Just around him. And I actually connected with him for the head joint too. So shout out to Just. Reached out to me to do the Vito joint. So that's kind of how that happened. So now, like I mentioned, I ain't never really meet him, but I always knew of him, because of the Go Gettas, and he was on the DVDs we had and all that. But I never actually did nothing with him when he was outside. But he definitely was, one of them guys that was more in the streets than, rapping. But he was on some DVDs and stuff like that, and did do some music and stuff like that. But he wasn't super heavy in it. But as far as the Go Getters go, had a lot of different Go Getters, a lot of different members. He was good for recruiting a lot of different people. But Vito definitely was one of the ones that stood out for sure out of all the people that he had. Yeah, like I said, there was a nice amount of Go Getters over the time when he had that run. But Vito definitely was one of the ones for sure out of that camp. Outside of D Jones, Quilly and all that. So I also seen early young Vito D's, he had a relationship with DZ. I did an episode with DZ too, I ain't really too sure how they had a connection rapport, but I'm guessing that had something to do with Head too, because you know Hattie was pushing DZ at some point in time too. DZ was around, but he wasn't officially a Go Getter, you know, early on. But later on, he kind of was like a Yola boy when Hattie was doing his Yola boy thing. DZ kind of was like a Yola boy affiliated, so him and Vito had a relationship. I mean, I seen like a young picture with both of them in it. I mean, so I was like, damn, that's kind of crazy. I didn't know that at first, but you know, doing research and coming across them pictures, you seen like, damn, that was crazy. Like they knew each other. I mean, and according to Vito, he was rapping as a young boy, but he ain't really go hard or take it serious. He's more so running around doing what he's doing in the streets or whatever. And he had got locked up, you know, as a young boy, was sent to the youth study center. And while he was in there, he said, you know, the DVD wave was starting to pop off a little more as far as the people around his era and the people that he knew, like the Headshots DVD and all that. And so he's from North Blumberg and all that. So a lot of the people from around his area started popping off on them DVDs. So, you know, some of his homies, you know, when he would call home, they would let him know, like, yo, bro, I mean, people got popping out here, so you need to start taking rap seriously. They knew he was rapping, but they knew he wasn't taking it serious, so they pretty much was trying to let him know and inform him and encourage him, like, bro, when you come home, you need to, I mean, get in your bag. I mean, all that on the rap type time. So he said when he finally did come home, he started watching the DVDs and all that. Then he realized, you know, I recognize some of these guys. Like, I mean, like I know some of these people from, you know, just being in the mix and being around North. Like, and one in particular was Young Bob. I mean, at the time, Young Bob had Headshots rolling.
Why, yeah, like you said, man, Joey and them, they from across town or whatever like that. Lower numbers, I'm more so the higher numbers. I mean, 22nd Ave. I mean, 22nd and Jefferson, Blumberg Projects, you know, over the 24th Street. Joey and them repping Delline Dolphin, man, basically was like, you know, I was doing this music shit or whatever like that, but I wasn't really knee deep into that shit, you know what I mean? I wasn't really taking that shit serious. I just was a dude that was in the hood, you know what I mean? I just was fucking with my guys, really. That's really all I know. I'm from the Jet. You know what I'm saying? We Jet niggas. We don't really do too much or whatever like that. You know, but when I got booked, that's when really the wave, the rap DVD, the headshot shits and all that shit came out, you know what I mean? And I was hearing about the shit. I'm in jail, I'm locked down, you know what I mean? I'm young boy, I'm at the youth, you know what I mean? Charged up. And I'm calling home and they telling me, you know what I mean? My guys that I grew up with, you know what I mean? They telling me, I mean, yo V, man, you gotta take this rap shit serious, man. They doing this shit, man. These dudes doing that shit. Cause I wasn't really on it, you know what I mean? I wasn't really on it like that, whatever like that, but I come home and I'm watching the DVDs. I'm like, damn, you know what I mean? I know a lot of these dudes. A lot of them dudes I was close with just from being in the hood, you know what I mean? Just from being around. And I knew Bob. My folks was fucking with Bob, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I came home on house arrest and shit one day. Everybody down there, you know what I mean? Everybody come through. It was like 100 motherfuckers, 200 motherfuckers in front of my mom crib. This shit look goofy. You know what I mean? Had down there Jones and there, Bob, Bam, the whole hood, the whole Blum down there. This shit all is popping out there. And I'm on house arrest. I'm ripping the DVD. You know what I mean? I'm tearing it down hard. And they just felt that it was real. You know what I mean? It was all love. I just had dudes coming like, damn, bro, you know, we ain't never hear you. You know what I mean? With the shit love, Magic was down there still, was down there freestyle. You know what I mean? Everybody was down there, whatever like that. And they like, you know, I mean, you ripping that shit, man. And I mean, I just came to like, you know, I want to fuck with you, man. You know, you seem like you're a real dude or whatever like that. And you know, we talked or whatever like that. And I mean, I was fucking with him. He was fucking him up at the time. He had the shit on Smash. You know what I'm saying? And I just was feeling the whole situation, so we linked up. You know what I mean? And we started fucking with each other. You know what I'm saysaying? You know, we took steps, but at the end of the day, you know, that's how it came about. And I just was with niggas linking up.
That's pretty much how that whole situation came about. Like, man. So fast forward a little bit, I mean, as he rolling with him at some point in time, y'all know the beef with Touch Money and Top Class pop off, whatever the case may be. Now, obviously, Vito was around. He was a part of the team and all that, but he wasn't necessarily a part of that. I mean, he wasn't really in it. I don't think he participated in it or none of that. And when I asked him about it, he pretty much said, like, I mean, he was pretty much being real careful and mindful to separate, you know, the two, like the rap from the real, I mean, and all that. And also he was like, you know, like nobody really mentioned his name, like nobody really put him in it. So, I mean, he just kept it like, I mean, just looked at it as that, like just some rap shit. Like, I mean, nobody say nothing to him or put him in there, and he say he kind of knew, you know, some of them guys on the other side too, like personally, like he knew them. So it's like, he ain't really look at it as nothing more than what that was. Like, but he also said he was around when the Three Kings shit was made, like when they ended up squashing it and all of that, which it got squashed in two different ways, on two different sides, two different versions of that story. The one version was Oskino, and he brung Meek and NH together, and that was like one way they squashed it. And then the other way was the Three Kings situation where Gil brung Hattie and Reed together, and that was like another way they squashed it. I mean, so, but he said he was around when he was recording, you know, the Three Kings project. It just never got done because according to them, you know, everybody was on their high horse in their bag, and it was hard to get people in the studio. So that's why the album never got done, but they definitely got a couple songs done. There's definitely one joint on YouTube right now with all three of them on it, Hattie, Reed, and Gilly. So, as I mentioned, Meek, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Vito definitely had a relationship with Meek. I mean, you know, Meek from, you know, being in the mix down north, you know, Meek from Brick Street. So, you know, the part of Brick that he from ain't too far from Blumberg, so you know they probably used to run into each other and stuff like that. Know some of the same people and all of that. So at the same time when they talk about the DZ and Vito picture, you know, Vito got a picture with Meek too at that same time. It's like I guess they was at a party or event or something like that, and they got pictures together at that joint. Then you see other pictures at another event like Meek performing. You see Vito there or Melly. I mean, so they had a rapport relationship as well, I mean. So at some point in time, you know, before Vito get locked up and all that, according to Turk, well, Vito got locked up a couple times, so, you know, but I'm talking about the time that he locked up for now. Like, so according to Turk, Vito had got shot. And when he got shot, you know, Turk said he took him to the hospital, got him there in time, I mean, saved his life and all that. And he said after that, Vito was like kind of turned up.
I know Vito since he was a kid. Like, he from, you know, he born and raised in Blumberg. I know him since he was a kid. He was, you know, Lil Danny, man. Like, when he first started rapping, man, like, he spit his rap for me. And I liked him because, like, everything he was spitting, like, he lived or he seen. Like, he wasn't like doing no real fraud in his raps. Like, and like a person who know Vito and know how passionate he was for his friends in his rap, he was real passionate. He just really got, I'm just kind of a little upset. He really got put up in a bad predicament, man. Like a real bad predicament that he probably could have avoided though. But him being young and wanting the name and live up to the reputation, it's like I just you know. I just talked to him. I talked to him a while ago when I first came home. We talked and everything. He always told me that he regret what happened and everything. He wish he would have listened to me though. But that's what I like. A lot of people don't know, man. I will never. To a lot of people, like I would never point nobody in the wrong directions, man. Even when Vito got shot, man, I took him to the hospital, man. The doctor told his mom I saved his life and I got him there so fast. And it's like when Vito came out the hospital, it was just like, shh. Couldn't tell him nothing. Like he wasn't trying to hear nothing from nobody. Like he couldn't tell him nothing. He was on go all the time and stuff.
Take a quick commercial break. Get y'all a word from one of our local sponsors. This episode of Philly F.A.M.E TV is brought to you by 1212 plant-based hair care products. These products are good for men and women, and best used in barbershops and hair salons. You could pick up some 1212 products at Hair Buzz in Hairtown in Philadelphia. Also shop online 12haircare.com for all deliveries. Now back to regular scheduled programming. So fast forward, I mean, you know, he was in the streets doing whatever he was doing, I mean, in the mix. At the same time he was rapping, but you know, like, he was, I mean, more so in the streets than he was rapping. And he ended up getting caught up in a situation, I mean, that landed him in the situation he in now. I ain't gonna speak too much on that situation, I mean, because, you know, when I did the interview with him, you know, he sounded, I mean, mature, more awakened, I mean, than he was when he was outside, obviously in the streets running around. And he definitely wasn't glorifying his past, and he regretted not taking music serious and all that. And another thing he spoke on was he said he got his appeal rights. I mean, he was trying to lawyer up and he was trying to fight to get out. That was back in 2017. You know, we ain't do an interview with him since then, but I don't know the circumstances in the case with that. You know, appeals be taking years to go through, but on the strength that he was speaking on that then, I ain't gonna really touch too much on that situation. I mean, if you know, you know. I mean, it's probably somebody else that touched on that, but we ain't gonna touch on that. But, you know, he did get locked up for, you know, a real serious situation, and this was back in like 2008. I mean, he been down ever since, so we're in 2023, going into 2024 soon, so, I mean, that's the situation with that. But, you know, prior to him getting locked up, you know, he was mentoring and pretty much had young Caliba under his wing. I mean, you know, Caliba from Blumberg, he was a young boy rapping early on, like, you know, a little badass young boy from the projects, one of them young boys that was smoking cigs and shit all early. Like, he was one of them badass young boys, but he was talking his shit early on. And Vito had the wave at the time from the DVDs and running around with Go Gettas and Hattie and all that. He used to coach Caliba and like give him advice and mentor him and all of that on the music type time. I mean, and really encourage him, I mean, to do it. I mean, to do the music and rap and all that. So when Vito got booked, I mean, you know, when we did the interview with Caliba, he spoke on this, like, how that really affected him. I mean, because he looked up to Vito, and Vito really was encouraging him with the music, and that's what he really wanted to do. I mean, so that was a big loss for him when Vito got locked up. I mean,
V was one of them guys where it was like, I mean, when as far as rap should go, he pushed me, man. Like, that boy was always, before all this shit of me knowing what was going on with V or whatever, V always was a 100 person, you feel me? Like, that was my brother, one of my brother closest friends, so he always looked at me like a little brother. And like, as far as rap should go, he used to give me little pointers and shit when I was a young boy. This before anybody even knew I rap, you feel me? Telling me like, no, like, you do this way and do that way, and sometimes slow your flow down. Like, he was schooling me to this shit, man. And it was like, when I heard he got booked, I mean, it was back in 2008 and shit. I was in middle school, I'm on my way to school when I got word that he got booked and shit. And that shit, like, it fucked me up, because it was like, damn, this a nigga that's doing what I want to do and showing me the route with this shit as far as the music shit go. You feel me? As far as the street shit go, I mean, Vito is Vito, you know what I mean? What's understood ain't gotta be explained, but you know, that boy a good boy, man, like, free the real, you hear me?
so eventually also when Vito got locked up, you know, eventually Meek and had, you know, parted ways from Headshots. You know, Meek got locked up in 07, so he actually got locked up before Vito. And you know, he actually bailed out and came home. So when Vito was locked up, Meek was home, and you know, Hattie was out, and they both kind of parted ways from Headshots for their own reasons. And eventually them two started going at it, I mean, and you know, Vito had a relationship with both of them, so I know that was kind of messed up at the time. But at the time that they was going through that, Vito was on, you know, death row fighting for his life. So he said he wasn't really, when I asked him about it, he said his mind wasn't even really on that, like that. Like, he was like, I mean, focusing on what he was dealing with. He was dealing with real situations. So, you know, it was what it was, as far as it was just some rap stuff and it wasn't that serious. So he didn't really pay too much mind to none of that. He was just focused on what he was dealing with, you know. So yeah, and also in the interview, you know, he was, like I say, he sounded mature, he sounded awakened, bro. He sounded like, I mean, he was enlightened as far as like what his mindset was and how, and you know, that was, you know, pretty much programming, so to speak, for a lot of people that come from where we come from. And you know, he understand how he ended up where he was as far as having that mentality. I mean, he sound like he want to, you know, do some positive things now that he know, you know, what he know now, what he didn't know before. I mean,
well, you know, I mean, I got caught up. I was knee deep in the streets like a lot of us do. You know what I mean? You know, the system really works. So I was into the streets, and you know what I mean, I was living that street life, and I mean, I got caught up, but I understand also how it happened, you know what I mean? And I understand why it happened. I understand why it was going to happen to people after me and why it happened to people before me. You get what I'm saying? But I know the reason why I ended up like that. You know what I mean? I really ain't know my worth. You know what I'm saying? I ain't know my worth, you know what I mean? Because rap shit was never hard to me. Like I said, I really ain't put my all to it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I ain't writing. You know what I mean? I wasn't really dedicated to that shit. I just would go in the studio, put something together. I wasn't writing. Only time I wrote really when I was booked. Like I ain't really give my all to it. You get what I'm saying? And I wound up falling a victim of them streets. You know what I mean? I got caught up. And like I said, I don't glorify my past at all, but I understand it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think. Like it ain't about no remorse or whatever like that. Of course, I wish it was different, but it's like I understand how I ended up like this, and I understand how I ended up like this, and I understand, I mean, what was necessary for me to make this transition and really be woken up about this shit. But you know, I'm in jail now, and I mean, I'm locked up for some real shit or whatever like that. I ain't gonna really get into the specifics, but you know, I changed, you know what I mean? I changed for the better. I mean, I got smarter, you know what I'm saying? I understand how I ended up, and I don't glorify none of it, you know what I mean? I just understand, and I know what we go through, you know what I mean? I know what we go through, and I was in it, so when you in it, you either go hard or, you know what I mean? You ain't gonna last, man. You ain't gonna last. The game, I mean, the game is definitely a game like this shit real, so any false move would cost you your life, man, and I wasn't trying to lose. I wasn't trying to lose out that joint, man, because, you know what I mean? I was seeing losses every day, but like I'm in here now, I still on my appeal rights or whatever like that. And I'm lawyering up right now. I'm getting everything together right now, and I'm fighting like I'm still back in these courts. You know what I mean? I got evidence right here and granted. You know what I mean? So it's still open. It's still open for me. And I look good, man. It's still hope. I still got a chance, man. So I mean, I'm living with that.
right. So, you know, we did the interview with Caliba in 2017 also, but this was like the end of 2017. So we did the joint with Vito in May of 2017, and we did the joint with Caliba in like December 2017. And when we did the interview with Caliba, you know, he spoke on the stuff with Vito, like I mentioned. And also, like during, like towards the end of the interview, Vito actually called Caliba phone, or called one of Caliba homies, and was talking to Caliba, and pretty much got him on camera, pretty much co-signing Caliba, you know, over the phone and all that.
Alright, man, y'all know what it is, man. It's Vito Corleone, man. You know, right now, I'm up top, man. I'm coming right from shit wrong. I'm on blackout right now, man. I'm in the belly of the beast, man. But you know, I had to come through for my young nigga Caliba, man. Shout out to Caliba. He official, man. He a real dude, man. And I'm backing him, man. So you know what it is. We ain't stopping. You know what I mean? He got the anchor. He gonna hold it down. And that's just what it is. And then, if don't nobody like it, man, then you know, I make the call, man. I enjoy the situation. And we ain't get it handled. The game don't stop. It's not going to stop. He the next one. He the future. He next up. I'm backing him. And that's just what it is. Stop hating on my youngin. I mean, y'all got to give it to him. He been there. He been around us. He was there. I'm talking about he was young boy. He was the one out there. And we gave him the game. And you know we're official. And he come from that line of tree, man. So respect the work, man. Like real talk. Y'all ain't going to get it from nowhere else. Y'all ain't going to get that shit from CNN. Y'all ain't gonna get that shit from Dayline, y'all ain't gonna get that shit from Nightline, y'all ain't gonna get that shit on ABC. Y'all gonna get it from the streets, y'all gonna get it from Caliba, man. Y'all gonna get it from me, man. I know what it is, man. We ain't stopping. Shout out to the water. Shout out to all my niggas that hold it down, man. Look for the jails, man. You know what I mean? Shout out to EL, shout out to Hall, shout out to Justin, shout out to Fred. You know what I mean? And shout out to TT too. You know what I mean? Shout out to her. Shout out to everybody that be holding it down, man. For everybody that's up top, man. You know we still here, we ain't stopping. That's just what it is, man. Vito Corleone, man. Caliba,
Gangs.
Early. Alright, man, we sign out till next time, man. When you ready to put that work in, man, let me know you already.
Alright, say no more, man. I love y'all, man. Y'all be cool, man.
Like shit,
Right,
gang.
Already.
He pretty much stamped him as, you know, he was one of them young boys, real young boys from the Blum that was outside when he was outside. I mean, and, you know, Caliba went on to rep the Water Boys and all that too when he started, you know, getting in the mix and rapping and all that. He rapped that too. I mean, like I said, Blumberg, that's what they was rapping. So we did an interview with Turk like the beginning of 2018. I mean, and, you know, that's why I say he spoke about Vito and all that too. I mean, and fast forward a little bit, you know, Caliba unfortunately got killed in 2020. I mean, you know, like I said, we covered him in his own episode and all that. But, you know, that was a bad joint. I know Vito was hurt behind that because that was his young boy. I mean, like I said, a few years prior, we did the interview. He called in and co-signed Caliba. You know, then a couple years later, you know, that ended up happening. I mean, so RIP to Caliba. That was a crazy joint. I mean, so fast forward, as recent as like a month ago, you know, it's a freestyle. He did a freestyle, you know, live from the jail. That got posted on Instagram, and you know, a couple people posted it on YouTube, and we ended up reposting it on our page. You know what I mean, once we seen he threw it up, basically, you know, talking this talk. I mean, letting people know where he at with it today. Letting people know he still, you know, he still sound like Vito. He still Vito. He still got it. And giving people some of his pain and what he going through. I mean,
without a question, hell yeah, Marana. Rulers all, you should hear the Marana. 762s, beware the chopper. Shit will moving like a land of the copper. I'm the man of the honors, Corleone. I'm the man of the rock. You're a real nigga. I'm the man of my honor. Shit I ain't never tell. I gave my life to my niggas and wish my mother well. This put my niggas locked in every cell. This put my niggas down in every grave. I blow for them, getting heavy blades. It's mine like I'm forever made. Remember me, remember V, who had potential to make it but couldn't see. I fell in love with that chasing the key.
so like I said, that was as recent as a month ago in 2023. So, you know, and that's pretty much the situation with Vito, man. So, like I said, like I mentioned, like the last interview we did was a little minute ago, like 6 years ago. I mean, and in that interview, that's the last time I heard him speak on the situation for us. Him saying he got his appeal rights and he lawyering up and he trying to fight to get out. So I don't really want to, you know, touch on his case and all of that and the circumstances and the details with none of that. So, you know, I'm gonna let him go through that process and try, you know, see if he can secure his freedom. But outside of that, I mean, shout out to Vito, man. As far as my interactions with him, the times I talked to him, he seemed like a good dude, solid dude. I mean, I don't know how he was before, but right now, like I said, he seemed like he definitely on a different type time, definitely on a different type wave, and he ain't, you know what I mean, the same guy that he was before. I mean, so, I mean, shout outs to Vito once again, and hopefully, you know, things work out for him the way you want them to work out. I mean, and that's going to, you know, conclude this episode of Drilladelphia, you know, featuring Vito, aka Vito Corleone, aka Lil Danny. I mean, shout out to everybody that's tapped in. Shout out to everybody that's been tapping in. Appreciate everybody that's supporting. I mean, follow us on Instagram and all social media platforms at F.A.M.E TV. I mean, stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Go ahead and go back and watch previous episodes if you ain't checked them out. Make sure you check out our What Happened To, Where Are They Now series. If you ain't been tapping into that. I mean, a whole bunch of content on the channel. We go back 2014, almost 10 years strong with content. So, you know, in the meantime, Signing out. Philly Fame TV. We out of here.